Hey sports fans, Christian Pedersen, Coach Jack Klein. Welcome back to another week of the San Diego Prep Insider Golf Podcast. Coach and I are round in the last turn. We're the final 3 holes or so until we get to the playoffs of sorts. So what we got on tap this week is a little bit of a change of pace. We're going to really kind of highlight just the last few jockeying for playoff type races, because the way that the playoffs work in San Diego is we go through two weeks of play-ins, and then it ultimately boils down to top 8 individuals, top 3 to 4 teams. Everyone else kind of fades away. But right now we're in that figuring out who that last spot or 2 of the individuals and the teams are. Is that a correct assessment?
I think that's a very correct assessment.
So, Coach, let's start on the team side of things. Let's work our way Division I all the way over to Division III. In D1, there's a pretty close race going on. I understand that Torrey A, Torrey B, Torrey's JV team, then Torrey's freshman team, and then the 8th graders that are funneled into Torrey is in its own championship. But 2 through 6, 2 through 8, 3 through 7, somewhere in that, there's a kind of closely grouped bunch of teams right there.
Really the top 3. So you got that right. So there's less than a stroke, so 3/4 of a stroke difference between Del Norte, Carlsbad, and San Marcos, and so that's going to be a close race to the finish. Expect to see all 4 of them, of course, in at CIF, but it's fun to see them coming down the home stretch now.
Now, when you're coming down the home stretch, and let's kind of educate on the broader spectrum to all sports fans, for a football or a baseball or any of those kind of teams, you're playing for home court advantage. What are you really playing for in terms of seeding going into the playoffs as a golf team?
Great question. So when you win your league, you get to host all the way through the play-ins. So that's a big advantage, and then of course winning might allow you to host as well. It depends, but big is winning your conference for sure. So
there is something on the line. There is a definitive home court advantage that you are playing for. This is not just jockeying for getting to say we were 3rd, we were 5th, we were whatever.
And that's the interesting story in D3. And so when we get there,
we'll get there. We got D2 to get to first.
Into it. There we go.
So, like you said, 2, 3, and 4 all separated by 3/4 of a shot, and also in that mix is you got San Marcos, RBV, Mission Hill. There are enough teams up at that top mix of D1 that we could very easily, am I wrong in saying this, that we could very easily see the number 6 team shave off a shot or 2 in those play-ins, and someone that you thought was 6th, 7th, maybe 8th is still there at finals?
It's possible, but there's distance between Torrey and Del Norte. There's a similar distance when you get down past the Carlsbad, San Marcos. Those 3 that are in there, they've distanced themselves. So I think you really
maybe not a complete crazy 16 beating a 1 type upset, right. But if I had to nail you down to maybe 1 or 2 teams that you said could be on that cusp of they're only separated by a shot or 2, but they would be the surprise to make it through, who would it be?
Well, it'd be a D2 team, really.
Okay, well then let's jump to D2.
Yeah, so Point Loma is in the number 5 spot, and but I think that their play, Adam Moss is doing really well. Had a couple of another really fine matches this past week, and
that is the younger brother of Jackson, who we've already established has had some great rounds this season. Also left some rounds with a little bit getting banged up on that last one. So. Yep. Interesting to see that the brother combo, because we had talked about Point Loma being sometimes a 1-horse race at the beginning of the season. Now they've got a little bit of depth.
They definitely do, and I think there's I think if we're looking for an upset, that would be one of them. They could certainly break in the D2, because right now, of course, you have La Costa Canyon and Cathedral, which are actually number 2 and 3 behind Torrey, so they're ahead of the D1 schools. But so they're very, very strong. But Sage Creek is a fine team, and of course Point Loma
Sage Creek and Point Loma are kind of the ones that you're talking about, are that second gap down, where they're not at that elite level, but it wouldn't surprise you if a shot into a bunker or a well-played chip shot or a nice putt here or there, and they move on instead of someone who's maybe a more classical like a Carlsbad.
Correct.
Okay. D3 though seems to be what you wanted to get to from the start, so we saved the most interesting for last. Lay it on me. I see you've got La Jolla Country Day, you've got SFC, Bishops, Pack Ridge, Mater Day, all highlighted right now, as well as a little bit of a shout out to Escondido Adventist with Matthew Dew. So help me make heads or tails of this D3 race right now.
Well, what's fascinating is that Bishops is the number 3 team. Country Day is number 1 in D3, and there are quite a number of strokes better on a season average than the Bishops. They're averaged around 20 for the team, and Bishops is around 33, so pretty significant. But in head-to-head, Bishops has defeated both Santa Fe Christian, which is above them, and Country Day. So there's a situation there where we could have a bit of an upset coming in at the end.
Well, how much stock do you put into something like that? Because as you are the admitted golf expert, I'm the one that is trying to pander to the general audience and sort of bring everybody into this conversation. If this was looking at a football game and you saw Team 1 beat Team 2 in the regular season, and it was a bad beat, despite the fact that you would normally say that Team 2 is definitely better than Team 1, is that something that you can really quantify, or is that just those guys happen to be good on that day and it just so coincided that it was against La Jolla Country Day?
That's a great question, and I'm not sure that we have an answer for that. I mean,
just
I
in
think
general
that
golf.
Generally, it's on any given day the scores can be away from your averages, and you don't know whether that's the anomaly or it just happens when they're playing each other that there's that extra level of pressure and one team rises to the occasion ahead of the other, and that might be the situation here. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I'm excited to see that. I think that we're really blessed in D3. All the schools have great coaches. Matt Brombaugh over at Bishops is a really fine coach, and so we can see, and of course Country Day has some really fine coaches as well. So I think we'll see that, and Santa Fe Christian. I mean, my gosh, really. All great coaches.
Well, and it's an interesting thing because what we kind of see across the board is the way that the CIF division system works is once you reach your peak of doing well for your couple of years, you get allocated up or you get sent down, trying to find that competitive balance. But you talk about up into D2, you got LCC with Kento Yamawaki and La Costa Canyon with sort of the whole team there is good.
Right.
Are we talking about a D3 school right now that if one of these Country Day, Bishops, SFC wins it, could they move up and be pretty quick back into that conversation again in D2? Are you trying to say to me that we got something on the horizon here and one of these D3 schools is starting into a good 4 to 5 years of golf for the county?
Well, we almost had that in Santa Fe Christian. They, I believe, took second last year. A really strong team. They lost a couple of players that we expected to have come back and aren't, and so that's had an effect on them. But they're still playing at a high level. Country Day, as well as Bishops. I mean, the Bishop School is the wild card for me. Okay. They've got 4 seniors, and if they all come to play on game day, we could see something great happen there.
That's what I like. Finally, 2 seasons of this, and finally a hot take out of you. Finally getting some excitement out of it.
I don't think we're going to upset Tori, but I mean, I think that we could see something happen there. But again, it just depends on whether those gentlemen show up on game day.
Well, the beautiful thing about this is that you don't need to upset Tori to qualify for state. You don't need to come in and be like, oh, we won open division, so we are the only ones that are moving on. It's you hit that threshold, and that's the okay, yes, great, congratulations, you've done well enough to keep your season alive despite not winning that title. Speaking of thresholds, you have the projected cut line for individual golfers down there at the bottom. You want to speak a little bit on that?
Sure. We're down to under 9 now, so for an index. Again, the way it works for CIF when we go into our San Diego section, if you're not a player on a team that qualifies, then you can qualify as an individual, and which is awesome. So we get a lot of good players from You mentioned Matthew Dew of Escondido Adventist, and he's a one-man team. I mean, he's it for their school, and yet he's going to qualify.
So no pressure.
Yeah,
whatsoever.
That's right. Well, but he's currently in the number 10 spot of the individual players of all the players.
He's been as high as 8th this season.
Yes, he has. So awesome. So I think it's a wonderful thing that young man can go to the school of his choice and qualify for CIF and make it to regionals or state.
So put this cut line number in context for us, because I think that the cut line is something in golf that kind of exists in that mysterious, you know the term, but you don't know exactly how to quantify what it means. And I'm not asking for what 8.9 strokes over par is, but just in terms of the quality of golf, is a cut line of 9 low? Is it high? Is it good for a year? What are you seeing out of this?
We're a little lower than last year,
Okay.
is my recollection. And we've been seeing it continually drop, which is something you've pointed out earlier over the last couple of weeks. So we're seeing some lower scores coming in, and we've dropped under 9, which is great to see.
So you'd say that overall, San Diego County High School Golf gets a positive report card on this season in terms of the quality of play?
No doubt.
Really thought you were about to say no, and then just completely changed course, and I was like, who is this guy? All of a sudden being like, no, we're going to just lay waste to everybody in San Diego County. Coach, any party notes? Because there's still, Parker's on break, LCC's on break. It's not a clean cut. We're going to play 2 straight weeks of league games and finish off the season. But any kind of partying, hey, let's take a look at this, that, or the other, because that could be an interesting thing that I've got my eyes on.
Sure. Well, I'll speak to D3 first. They'll have their conference championship next week, and I think that'll give us a nice preview when you have the 5 teams come for the Coastal, League all come together and play. We're going to see how it's going to shake out with the Bishops, Country Day, Santa Fe Christian. I think that'll be a really nice test. Going to be at Coronado, and so I think it is going to be a great test for the players.
So looking at league finals next week, then we'll be back with kind of a little bit of a celebration of the season, wrapping everything up, / getting you ready for the play-ins. That'll be the week after. We are less than a month. The 14th and 16th of next month will be your finals from Admiral Baker. We will be there. Coach, it just seems to me like we are on a collision course for something epic to happen on both sides, the individual and the team set of the bracket. So I'm really excited to see how it plays out. This guy lives for this all playing out. I can tell you that work with a lot of analysts across all the seasons, and there are very few people that come with the level of preparedness and excitement that this guy does. So take a moment, enjoy all this, and then get out there and watch some of this golf and appreciate it, and come bring some lounge chairs, and we'll see you at Admiral Baker. I don't know where. We'll find a fairway for everyone to set up at if they want.
We wish we could have them.
There's a little bit of an overlay area. We'll pull some strings. We'll push our media clout around a little bit, and we'll get you guys all some space to come watch it.
All right.
Thank you very much, sports fans. We'll see you guys next week.